Fantastic. Okay. So today I'm with Ashley Gray, a Q major, as well as a theater major. And you guys are listening to CUE at UMD Podcast. So, Ashley, tell me a little bit about your academic background as a student here at UMD.
Well, I technically came in undeclared. I wasn't totally settled on what I wanted to do. I did
Mhm.
have an inkling that I wanted to do theater, but I feel like as most people who pursue theater find out, when you start telling people that, you get a little bit of pushback. What are you gonna do with that? So
Yeah.
I came in a little phased. I was like, I don't know. But after one semester of being undeclared, I was like, no, I need to do theater. And I think it's because the best piece of advice I was ever given about college was like, if you need to figure out what you want to study, think about a big fat textbook. What topic is it that will inspire you to actually open it up and read it? And I was like, I can't think of anything else besides theater. So I ended up joining the School of Fine Arts as a theater BA my spring semester freshman year. And then that summer, I was kind of looking around at other majors because I needed either a minor or a second major. And I was like, gosh, I need something else because even though I love theater, I think I need something else just to kind of add on to it. And I I was so I wanted to find something else that I was passionate about. And I was like, what else am I passionate about? So I was doing a lot of like soul searching at the time. And I think what actually sold me on it was that I have a really good friend from France. And that summer she came out and we actually went to New York. And while we were walking around, I could like hear all of these people speaking in different languages and like this hub of multiculturalism. And I was like, God, I love this. Like, I love being able to like experience all of this at once. And so I was like, I think I want to do something that kind of has to do with like international, just something that keeps
Study and
me
relations.
connected. Yeah, something that keeps me connected to the outside world.
Mhm.
And so I just straight went on my computer and was like looking through the entire list of UMD majors and was like, let me just read up on all of them and see if anything appeals to me. And I stumbled across Q and I was like, this is kind of my dream major. Like, this is perfect. Like, I don't think I'd really heard of it before because it was still kind of up and coming when I had first come to the school as a freshman. And so I was looking more into it, and I think I got connected with Aparna, and we chatted a bit. And I was like, I think this is exactly what I want. I mean, I was studying French at the time, so it made use of my language, and it had this like focus on this interculturalism as well as like gave me some real business skills by getting the business certificate along with it. So it really like ticked off all my boxes and I was like, I think this is what I want. And
Mhm.
so by my fall semester, I was committed to Q and now that's where I am, Q in theater.
That is so great. So that was back in what would that be, 2017 or 2018?
20 I think 2018. Yeah, so fall 2018 I
Fall
think is that.
2018 when you declared your Q
Yeah.
major. That's super great. So like you just knew reading like the whatever they had online, like the bio and all that, and talking to partner,
Mhm.
you just knew it was it.
Yeah, kind of. I think it just at the time I was really, like I said, like I went on that trip with my friend and also just my relationship with my friend who's from France was really like important to me at the time. And I was like, I only got this opportunity to meet her because I started taking French in high school and my family decided to host a French student and that was her. And so I was like,
Cool.
I want to keep having these opportunities. And so when I found the major, I was like, this is kind of perfect. I was also kind of looking for something that would allow me to get a little bit of like business
Yeah.
smarts without
Yeah.
having to commit
Business
to the School
partner.
of Business, if
Mhm.
that makes sense. And I was like, just like gives me a little bit of like just top knowledge. And that's exactly what Q does. At least if you're going for the business track certificate. I'm getting, to like just dip my toes into like every important subject when it comes to business and get a little bit of like general knowledge, which I really enjoy as well.
Definitely.
But
So you would say you were drawn to the multiculturalism just as well as that business knowledge.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a beautiful mixture of the two. I think they're really
It's super
it's
nice.
a solid overall major. Like it's just well-rounded, I think, in just a lot of areas.
Yeah, and it's super forward thinking too, because I mean, especially once I started actually taking classes that had to do with Q and, pursuing the major, I was like, I didn't even realize that the business world was kind of slowly making the shift to a more, creative based like
Yeah,
industry
design and creative arts. Yeah,
and culture based businesses being so important. I mean, now that we have more interconnectedness with the internet and with all of the tools that we have now that we didn't, even 10 years ago, it's like, why had I never considered that business would be changing on such a global front? But
that's just a great way.
yeah, I was like, this is really cool, and I genuinely think this is the future of business, so it's good to get these skills.
Definitely. Tell me more about your SFA experience. So you began in the School of Fine Arts, and
Hmm.
that was disbanded and conjoined with the College of Liberal Arts, which is where cultural entrepreneurship is. And
Yep.
tell me how that learning from SFA and theater. I know it was only just a year, but how did that transition and translate to cultural entrepreneurship?
I think, well, the merging is definitely kind of an event of its own. I think that I was more well equipped for it than maybe other kids who were just SFA, because I had already been in CLA. So I was like, it in some aspects, I was like, this kind of cleans up all of my messy credentials because it just puts me into one school. Because I think technically I'm the first person to ever have this double major. And so it was always like a little bit wonky talking to all my advisors and being like, yeah, I know this is different, but like I'm just trying to make it work. And it totally does work in case anyone's
So cool.
wondering. But but I think it's kind of there are two different cultures between SFA and CLA for sure. But I
Yeah,
think
speak
that
on that a little bit.
it's hmm?
Yeah, speak on that a little. The culture differences.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, obviously I'm speaking from a theater perspective. I think that you're going to get a little bit of different culture in every single kind of different medium in the fine arts.
Mhm.
But theater, especially, a lot of these theater students are like really, really tight. They're all about community. I think there's a really big importance on like working together. I mean, the theater doesn't happen unless you can do teamwork. And
Exactly.
so there's a huge emphasis on that. CLA, I think being a much bigger school, it's harder to have as much of a sense of community. However,
Yeah.
I would say that Q is pretty tight knit because Q being really small
Mhm.
and being kind of this new and up and coming thing that people are being drawn to now, it's
Mhm.
it's kind of interesting because you feel like you get to be the first. I feel like
Yeah,
people are kind of coming to this now and they're starting to realize there's real value in this major. And when you're kind of like the first kids to be coming to it, it's a small group, but I think we're all kind of really proud of it, if that makes sense.
I would definitely say so. I would definitely agree with that statement. For sure. Yeah, you're definitely the unique person, and that I think that's so cool, and just be proud of that. You're theater major and cultural entrepreneurship.
Yeah, it's
Um,
fun.
that's awesome. So what um what was like most? I guess we kind of touched on that, but like what was most similar between SFA and CLA, or like the theater stuff you did and studies that you're doing now? Are there any similarities, overlap, or no? Or is it just real?
Definitely in the studies, I think there's some overlap. I think that I'm getting kind of similar soft skills
Mm,
from both of my majors in the sense that like Q is making me it's really making me confront any like insecurities I have in regards to like I need to be proud of my ideas, like
mm,
entrepreneurship is not for the weak-hearted. Like you
no,
need to be confident in yourself and you need to be ready to convince people. You kind of got to be ready to market yourself as well as your ideas. And I think that the tie there with theater is that you really have to be able to market yourself in theater as well. Theater is an industry where there is so many people who are interested in getting into it, and so you have to be one, good at what you do, and two, good at selling yourself. So it's like there is definitely a bit of crossover. Also just the fact that there's like an emphasis on kind of this there's an emphasis on like creative minds and of course appreciating those and growing those. But I would also say there's kind of a cultural aspect in both, in the sense that, to me at least, theater is a way of having a conversation or a way of starting a conversation. And when theater gets popular, it's a means to put everybody in a room together and create a similar experience, even if you're all coming from different walks of life. And
Hmm.
Q is kind of like that in a way, in that you're becoming equipped to communicate well with everybody from different walks of life and try to bring them together for like a common cause or idea, you know?
So true. Yeah, you're trying to bring together culture and community,
I
really.
think I think that theater is just like the very straight, like artistic way of kind of going
Hmm.
about it. And it's obviously got more like a, I guess you can take more liberties with it and there's more artistic influence there. But like with
Yeah.
Q, it's like you have a lot of business structure, but you get the freedom of creativity and like revolutionizing this industry
Problem
and bringing
solving.
people together in a new way. And so
Yeah.
I guess those are definitely some similarities I see. I also think that like when you get into the Q major a little bit farther, you start taking a lot more courses that have to do with like the creative industries. And so I'm kind of learning about the business and management side of the artistic, you know, the artistic craft that I'm pursuing.
Hmm.
So it's kind of nice to see both sides because I think that understanding both of them is beneficial to both groups. I think being able to communicate between artist and business sides is crucial.
For sure, definitely, yeah. I mean, it's really smart to get the marketing and understanding how to do business and management,
Right.
and mold the two areas together. And I think that's fantastic that you've done that. So, what is your
Yeah.
favorite learning area that you've done with cultural entrepreneurship, like aspect of Q? Like
Hmm.
any specific course that like stands out? Any specific just area of the major that has it?
Um, I think like if I'm speaking fun wise, I recently took creative problem solving,
Okay.
which was a class that was, I mean, as you probably guessed, all about creative problem solving.
Yep.
But that
I
one
love
was really
the
fun
name.
because,
I love the
oh, what
name
was that?
of courses. They're so I love Q courses because the names are like really like
Right?
it's just for face value. Like what you see is what you get kind of thing.
No,
Like
exactly.
it's
I
just
think
like
it's
fun.
nice because I feel like a lot of the courses, when you look at them, you kind of know that what you're getting is like a reframing of what would traditionally be like maybe more of a business course, but you know that you're kind of getting something different out of it. And
Yep.
it's personally something that I always enjoy. I'm like, I want this
Yeah.
rather than it maybe more of a straight laced kind of business deal. But so creative problem solving was really, really fun, mostly because I think we got a lot of opportunities to do just like fun assignments that had to do with, you know, like it was always like brain challenges, you know, finding new ways to like kind of force our brain to think in new ways. And I think that's kind of beneficial to anybody.
Yeah, it's not easy to do.
No, it's not, but it's like it's when you really start to kind of force yourself to see things in new perspectives and like actually take the time to analyze issues and be like, there is more here if I just am patient and like look at it from more angles and like consider the position that I've always taken and why I take that position. It it's such a beneficial thing to learn, I think, for anybody, because as soon as you start using those skills, you can use them in other parts of your life and you're like, this is there's no sector of life where being able to step back and look at things from a new perspective doesn't help, you
Hmm.
know?
So,
So
so
that was one class that I certainly really liked. I also think that a lot of the Q courses are based around giving us opportunities to like pursue our personal ideas and like build around the things we're passionate about. So that is something that I really, really enjoy about cultural entrepreneurship, is just because we can take the things that we already love and are already like have a fire for and then build on them and grow our ideas with them, which I really
yeah,
like.
just like I as an example, you and Anna, but you in specific. I mean, didn't you come up with Ghostlight, the concept, or was that you and another student from a semester before?
I did have a partner before. I kind of got the baselines down for by myself, but my partners, I've had two different partners over the course of the two semesters, and they've both definitely helped me to like grow and round out the idea for sure. But the idea was 100% just a product of me speaking to a lot of people in my theater major and being like, how can I help you with the skills that I'm getting from Q?
Yeah,
And so that was really, really cool because I think the product that I'm making is something that would interest a lot of the people that like I work beside and that I understand. But I also now have the tools and the connections to actually talk about developing something that could be so helpful to them, you know?
for sure, for sure. why is Q such a great program for students with arts-based creative backgrounds like yourself?
I think I could vouch for this for like so long, and it's almost hard to put
Go
into
for it.
words.
Go
But
on it.
like, I think it's because if you're somebody who has a brain that works well in SFA, then you have a brain that could potentially do very, very well in cultural entrepreneurship. Ultimately, I think creatives all kind of band together. They tend to find each other. They like to flock to certain areas where they're allowed to express, where they're allowed to use their brains in ways that make sense to them. And there's so many SFA kids that I know that I think are looking for maybe another major or a minor that feels kind of like a little more solid to them in a way that they can kind of marry with their other degrees. Um, and so I feel like I know that I'm talking on the Q podcast, but I really hope that I can connect with more like SFA students and be like, you should consider Q. You should consider cultural entrepreneurship because it is so well fitted to the way that our brains work. It 100% utilizes the fact that we are creative thinkers. It allows you to like express and get passionate about a lot of the things that we already have such a strong passion for. But it allows you to like take them into a business world, which I think a lot of creatives are a little bit afraid of the business world because it's not something that we're accustomed to. And I think that we're a
Yeah.
lot of times told to stay away, like we're the creative brains. We do all like the wacky thinking and making our
Huh?
strange art and whatnot. And we'll have somebody else to manage us and worry about all of the financials and business and marketing and all those things that I think that we're kind of told to stay away from. And I would argue that like it's so valid to know both sides. Especially in my recent classes in Q, where we've been talking a lot about the creative industries and like how to manage creatives and what these industries look like and the kinds of problems you run into. I'm like, gosh, I think that taking on the perspective of every role on the business side of things, as well as understanding the creative sides of things when there's issues in these industries, it makes it so much clearer on like how to solve these issues or at least how to like cross communicate.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I would encourage so many more SFA students to consider looking into Q because it's not your general business major. It's not a business degree. It's something that gives you the
Mm-hmm.
skills to be able to communicate and talk in a business world, but while not compromising your true identity as an artist or however you feel.
For sure.
Um, I also think that if people have an interest in culture and like their identity as a global citizen, this is a great major. I love studying French. I love traveling around. I studied abroad my junior year in Worcester, England, and I got to travel around a whole bunch and I adored it. And I think that, I mean, I wasn't able to take any Q classes while I was over in England. I was mostly focusing on my theater at that point, but I feel like just being over there contributed to my Q major because I mean, ultimately, the skills that we're being given are about being able to develop these cross cultural relationships and like talking to people who've grown up in completely different countries and circumstances than me and being able to like make these really tight and genuine connections and knowing that like I have people in other countries that I could talk to if it came down to like business or ideas or even just working on projects or heck even if I just need somewhere to stay. Like I love that it encourages me to network. And in that networking, I make so many genuine connections with like people from other places.
That's perfect way of putting it. Thank you so much, Ashley. What
Yeah.
are you looking to do with these two degrees in the future going forward? As you'll be graduating what in a year or less?
I'm graduating this May,
This
so I'll
May.
be
Congratulations.
yeah.
You're
Thank
almost
you.
you are real close. You're just at the
Yeah.
so I know you don't have to have anything figured out. You're what, 22, 23?
22, yeah.
You're 22. I mean, what could you see yourself doing in I don't know, 5, 10 years or just
um
somewhere down the line?
I think that there's a lot of different ways that you can use these two majors together. One specifically, or like one industry that I've always been interested in getting into that I think makes really good utilization of specifically my theater and my cultural entrepreneurship is event planning or project planning. And I think I've always been kind of drawn to that because one, I kind of enjoy being in leadership positions, mostly because I think that there's a lot of benefit to having leaders who actually value the people who are working with them and under them. Um, and also just because I think it's so fun to see a project come together. I mean, part of the reason that I joined the theater major is because you literally just have all these little different working parts, each of them genius in their own way. And then they come together to create this incredible masterpiece or like spectacle that, hundreds of people can enjoy and really be moved by. And when I think about that, I'm like, I love how that works. And I love being a theater major in the sense that I've learned how to be one of those little pieces that makes something greater happen. And so when I think about kind of going out into the world, I've always been really interested in event planning, I think, because I love big events. I love having things to celebrate. I love when people come together. Of course, in our COVID-19 world, it's hard to imagine us all coming together again, but I think it's something that we will desperately need as soon as we are able to again. And so theater really aids that. But then cultural entrepreneurship is giving me all of these really like it's all of like the business side of things like I've talked about before, but also just, I mean, the cultural part of it. I
Yeah.
would love to create events that are connecting and like reaching out to people who are from all walks of life. I would love to create events that are aware and like actively involve people who are different,
Yeah.
And so I think that Q's given me that. Q has also just given me so many like important skills when it comes to like being able to manage money, being able to look at things from like a promotional point of view, being able to understand that business comes with rules and being able to follow those rules while also still looking at them in a new way, knowing when to drop traditions versus like embracing new ideas. I think it's really, really cool. And so
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I think that's kind of one idea that I've had, but I honestly think that someone could have the exact same two majors in me as me and end up somewhere completely different than where I potentially end up. And like the truth is that I don't know where I'm going to end up, and that's partially due to COVID, and that's partially due to just kind of me embracing that I just kind of want to see what's out there. I kind of
Mhm.
want to, I want to graduate, and then
And
I want to chase
more.
whatever passion kind
For
of
sure.
embraces me.
Yeah, I think that's the best choice. Is just to go out there and explore. I think, yeah, I mean, definitely I can see some leadership position in your future. You seem very lead oriented, and you could definitely like organize and manage some people. I can definitely see
Thank
that.
you. That means a lot.
For sure. Yeah, yeah. So, well, I wish you the best with that in your future.
Yeah, it's coming up here soon.
Heck yeah. Well, yeah, you've got all the time on your hands and just go out there and just
Yeah.
chase whatever's calling you. And I really appreciate you taking your time. And I think you did a fantastic job describing what the essence of Q is. It really is the molding of the business and the creative.
Yeah, I'm glad I was able to put it into words because I think I encourage anybody who's interested to talk to Aparna. She's wonderful at describing exactly what it is and what it feels like. And if you're interested, there's like beginner kind of like dip your toes in courses for Q, and I think that you might find that you like what's there if you're
That's
interested by anything I've talked about. So
that's how I found this major. I dipped my toes into the creative economy 1001.
yep, that was a good one.
Yep, yep. Just the intro to the creative economy, and it got me. It really pulled at something in me, and I'm like, what, this is
you
definitely
you feel like you're doing projects that have real consequences on like what you're learning, like you actually feel yourself growing and changing and like adapting new qualities, which I think is why Q is so valuable.
so true, so true. Well, thank you all who are listening to this point. We really appreciate you, and if we hope you got something out of this. If you'd like to reach out to Aparna Katre, we dropped her name a few times. She's one of the lead professors of the Q program. I can leave her info in the description of this podcast as well as on YouTube as well. So yeah, thank you so much. I am Eli Esch with Ashley Gray here from Q, and I will see you guys in the next installment. Peace.